Hi there. I was born in Zambia on the Copper Belt, 9 miles from the Congo border. I have always been intrigued in Africa and what really stands behind this continent. So in my years of search to find answers to the questions about life, I came across some intriguing things about Africa. And one of the most intriguing bits of information is the fact that Rudolf Steiner described parts of Africa as being part of the ancient Lemurian continent. The ancient Lemurian history takes us back to early parts of the early formation of the earth, when the earth was not yet solid and the earth was not yet stable. The atmosphere was very different. The atmosphere was filled with a heavy laden, watery atmosphere, and the earth was yet more fluid and not as hardened, and the stones were still soft. And mankind upon Lemuria had qualities of the most extraordinary kind, for they did not yet need to depend on speech to communicate with one another. In fact, humanity was clairvoyant then. And the kind of clairvoyance that existed between the man and the woman were different. Different kinds of clairvoyance. The women who were trained in the mystery centers were trained in the understanding of the imaginative script that could be experienced inwardly by the feminine initiate of that time. And so when she saw these mighty imaginations, and we must understand that when we talk about imaginations today, they're certainly not the kind of imaginations that was known at that time. For today we describe and one particular imagination, and we probably could write a whole chapter on it. But we do get an inkling of the imaginative knowledge that was in existence then, when we look at, say, for example, the Egyptian myths. If we look at these mighty stories and can convert the stories back into imaginations, into pictures, one gets an idea and a glimpse into the consciousness of that ancient time, that Lemurian time. For then, the women who were the great initiates within the mysteries were trained to experience these mighty imaginations of the moral universe. They experienced them in such a way that these pictures, these panorama of events, was experienced as cosmic will. The cosmos has a will of its own and is evolving its will. The cosmos and the earth are connected, and all has a one great big plan. There is involution and there's evolution. And evolution took place for a long, long time. And we reached at the moment where we have arrived at the center point of our planetary existence. And that center point is the mystery of Golgotha, or the crucifixion of Christ Jesus. When the Christ Spirit truly entered into the very auric field of the earth. At that moment, for the last 2,000 years, there has been a reversing of processes which we called evolution. Thus, we can now say that we've entered into an epoch and an era of involution, which is evolving, if I may use that word, back to where we came from, back to the kind of consciousness that existed a long time ago. In ancient Lemuria, then, to get back to my main theme, these women initiates were capable of receiving mighty panorama of events, cosmic imaginations. And these cosmic imaginations revealed the history of the planet, the history of the human spirit and soul as it descended from higher realms. And this Lemurian continent was a very peculiar place. For in the early history, all of humanity still were connected to their higher selves, to their mighty I Am presence. They were connected to this higher solar presence. But then as Lemuria went further and further through its 7 epochs of time, there were mighty adjustments that took place. And gradually, humanity was enclosed within a kind of memory existence which never existed in the early beginnings, for everybody lived in the now. There was no past or present, but people lived in the now and experienced the cosmic imaginations and the will of the cosmos as it willed the earth and mankind along a certain evolutionary path. Then gradually the separation from the solar presence began in this time of ancient Lemuria. And then as they separated from the persona that gradually became to be evolved upon Lemuria, away from the I Am and the Almighty I Am, humanity started to experience a completely different form of consciousness. And when we look at the blue-violet races, we are looking back into the history of those early embodiments upon Lemuria, where this racial stock was then a blue-violet body, and many of us was incarnated at that time in these bodies. Now, to tell you a little bit more, the men, the initiate men, were initiated in ancient Lemuria in a very different way to the women. For the men exerted their clairvoyant knowledge and their experience of the will into the outer world, and through their will could transform nature and the elemental environment. Now in that time, a series of cosmic imaginations embedded inside the Akashic records of mankind. And these mighty imaginations was later accessed in the ancient Egyptian mysteries. And when we come across the Isis and the Osiris mystery, we look into one of the mightiest imaginations from that time. And so come and attend my course on the return of mythical thinking, the return of solar imagination, the consciousness of experiencing solar imaginations. And come and hear more about Lemuria and the cosmic cycles behind the great imaginations, and how Lemuria was connected to Africa, and how it is, and this is a most intriguing fact, that the Ascension flame has to be embedded in Africa and in no other part of the world but in Africa. Is this not a mysterious issue? Is this not a mysterious question? So come and attend my course and find out more about these intriguing mysteries about Africa, Lemuria, and these great myths which no longer, after you've heard my expose, you would consider as mere myths, but the mighty secrets of the cosmos, poured into imaginations of pure cosmic will, and that this lies deeply embedded still here in this mysterious continent of Africa, in the ethers of Africa. This mighty era for Lemuria could be divided into 2 different parts: the time of the sun and the time of the moon. And we are now raising up out of this moon time here in Africa that has been here for some thousands of years. And we are approaching once again the possibility of accessing the solar imaginations that was possible in the ancient Lemurian times. Come and find out more about my intriguing fascination with the mysteries of Egypt, the history of Africa, the mysteries of Africa, and the mysteries of the human soul, and the ascension flame that we find today on the Nile in Luxor, Egypt. My name is Ralph Doe Raats. Come to my course, The Return of Solar Mythical Thinking, Lemurian, Egyptian mythology. Thank you for listening to me. Bye.